final research project so that you're familiar with that. And I'll touch base a little bit on the final essay exam too, just so that you have both concepts. So for this Go Global Business Research Project, what I want you to do is put yourself in the shoes of a multinational company. And we've done this in some of the Flipgrids and discussion boards as of late. So you should really have some thoughts about this, probably even going into it. And you could pick one of maybe the discussion board research if you did a lot of research on it. Some of you are really, really thorough, or your blog post, and pick a country from one of the things that you've done, so you have a little bit of a foundation to start with. Or you can pick something completely different, totally up to you. But you're going to put yourself in the shoes of a multinational company, and they concluded that there's hardly a possibility for growth at the current market. So they see an opportunity for strategy abroad. However, before starting to export to a new country, they need to create a business plan. So we're specifically going to look at exporting something that's made in the United States out to another country. So it's not a service business. We're thinking of a product or something that you manufacture or have for them. It could be, I suppose, a service that might be something online that could be distributed that maybe people would purchase. But let's think of, it's probably easier to think of a product that you use every day, or something that you're thinking about making. It can be real, or something that hasn't been discovered yet, but you think it might have viability in a market. So before starting to export to the new country, they need to create a business plan. And in this plan, questions have to be considered and answered about topics like strategies, products, services, markets, finance, cultural differences, and environmental issues. There's a lot of research to be done. So this multinational company has hired you as a consultant because you are a specialist in international business. You know a lot about the relationship of the U.S. with other countries, and specialize in business expansion. So they'd like you to conduct and present the research to them in the form of a 5 to 7 page research paper. And then you're going to give an overview of that also in Flipgrid. So before you get started, you have the freedom to select a company, the product, and a country. The company does not have to be real. The product needs to be realistic, as you will need to conduct market research and ensure that the country, product, and company make sense initially. As an example, do not select Procter & Gamble to enter a country where they already have established a connection. So think about, it's hard to pick things like Coca-Cola because they're everywhere. I even had somebody pick Coca-Cola to Cuba once, and they're already in Cuba. So think about products that maybe more local that you're familiar with, and something that you would want to maybe branch out into another country. But again, thinking about the countries, I know you did some research of Uganda. They're very poor. They need to be able to afford it. So all of those things kind of need to play into what you're thinking about. So I want you to pick a company, a product, and a country that you want to export to. And so the first part is an introduction of the company name, product, location. I want you to talk about why you picked it, why you think it would be viable, and then the rest of the paper is going to be supporting information either to do that, or perhaps you might find that it's not recommended to do that. It's okay if you don't recommend to do something. And so in the context section, so providing some reasons for why you might want to do that, talk about the reasons for conducting trade with that company, explaining the effects of government policies and regulations, analyze the resources and the country has and its impact on the business, evaluate the effect of culture on the business, and describe level of economic development, provide a market analysis for the company. So this is a 5 to 7 page paper. So you're going to have to do a little bit of research on this and take some time on it. I've had students in the past write 2 pages. That's just not enough research. If a company actually asked you to do this, your research and findings might be 20 to 30 pages. There's a lot of information out there on this. And we've touched on a lot of it in class. So I would definitely look at writing, a paragraph maybe about each of these areas, and you're going to find that you'll definitely get into the 5 to 7 page area. Now, you don't have to hit exactly everything. Some things may play into it more than others, but I would definitely look at why trade with that country is beneficial, and that might be the government policies, the culture. So maybe you don't write a paragraph on the reasons, maybe it's the government policies, the culture, the economic development, that all plays into it, if that makes sense. So that's probably more of a heading than anything. But a market analysis will be good because you want to know if it's actually going to be viable or not. And then once you do that and you gather that research, you're going to provide recommendations. So examples of what to include in this section is the foreign environment. Is it conducive or not? Why or why not? The current vision and mission statement. So if you were to do that, what would their current strategies align with actually doing that or not? So if it's a fictitious company, you're going to probably want to create a fictitious vision and mission statement, and then you can analyze whether or not that applies. If you're using an existing company, it's pretty easy to kind of figure out what their vision and mission is from their websites. And then I think this is what the strategies should look like to enter the country. So the book talks about different strategies and how to enter. So you're going to be exporting, and how might you want to do that? What type of, would you have your own store shop? Would you maybe market to another company that might have it in their stores? Maybe something that's existing. It's totally up to you on how you might do that. Maybe it's a business to business type of thing and you'd have a catalog. So what strategies would you do to enter that country? And then what would their marketing strategies, what should their marketing strategies include? I'm like missing words here. And then entry modes, which is similar to that. So I think and your entry mode is actually export, so I'm going to take that out of there. And then distribution supply chain strategies, which it may align with strategies to enter, so that might be similar. And then any human resource strategies. So if you need to hire people, I would include that in there too. So again, a paragraph on the ones that pertain. If it doesn't pertain, let's say you don't have people working there, maybe that's not really a big strategy, but maybe you need to hire somebody who is up to date on export paperwork and has relationships with companies to help you export. Or maybe you want to look at getting a salesperson in that might have international sales experience that might help you with that. So think through that human resource strategy and what that might look like. Would you put boots on the ground for a while so that to get it up and running, and how would you train those people in the culture and things of that country? So lots of things that you could talk about. You shouldn't run out of content. And then finally, and this is probably the most important part, what did you learn about doing this research project? So what are some of the things that you come up with? This is not short, so make sure you're writing at least 2 to 3 paragraphs on what you learned. I think sometimes people cut that really short, and if you look on the rubric, your thoughts and learnings are worth 20 points. So it's a pretty big section. So definitely put some thought into maybe how your perspectives have changed. You can incorporate things that you've learned throughout the class too, not just what you put into the paper, on what you found. Okay, so that's probably gonna maybe hurt your brain the most is, hey, what did I learn while I did this? But hopefully you'll be able to find some things that you can apply, whether it be to things that you're currently doing, things you might want to do in the future, or just things you didn't know. So the rubric is right here, introduction to the company, name, product, location, the context of it, minimum of 3 of the topic areas, recommendations, minimum of the 3 topic areas below. So that's all in there. Again, make sure to include 3, and I would write at least a paragraph on each one, which is going to get you very close to your 5 to 7 pages if you do that. It's double spaced, it's 12-point font. I do grade and look for spelling and grammar. I'm not an English instructor, so it's really what just jumps out at me, as opposed to really fine-tooth combing it. But I would definitely take it down to the writing lab if you have grammar or spelling issues that you've had in the past, because you don't want to lose any extra points on that. And then choosing either APA or MLA format. I just want you to understand that if you're using a web source, just putting in the web address is not either one of those formats. So make sure you do some research. And on the NWTC website, there is, switch over to that. And if anybody wants to buy my boots for me, I'm like struggling. I leave it in the shopping cart until I decide not to buy it, and then I don't buy it. So if I go to the NWTC website and you go to the library homepage, the library homepage actually has some great resources on APA and MLA format. And I'm going to see where I can find it here. I know there is. Okay. I'm just going to type it in because I can't find it. Something's going to come up. Okay. So yeah, this is in the library under media. I'm just trying to find the NWTC Media Student Experience Library APA Citation Handout. So it should be right on there. But this is an APA citation handout, so they'll give you information on how to do that. I would not use a form or a template because people tend to leave things in there that shouldn't be in there. So it looks it doesn't look very well, but it will give you ideas on formatting. Also, I just want to highlight from a plagiarism perspective, make sure just to look at that, because just changing the words around is not writing it in your own words. My recommendation to not plagiarize is to read something online, to shut the screen down, and to write it down in your own words. How would you describe that to somebody? And that's what I would want you to understand. So this library guide on plagiarism is really important on how not to plagiarize. You will receive a 0 on the paper if you are caught plagiarizing. And I do it every Christmas. I have to give 1 or 2 out, and I hate doing it, so I don't want to do it. So make sure you take a look at that. I feel like the Grinch every time I do that. It like pains me to no end. So it's not something I want to do. And then there is a Flipgrid associated with this, so open up the Flipgrid and it will talk about how you should share some of what you learned in your paper. So the other thing I just want to touch base on is that final exam. It's due December 3rd. It is currently open. It is 10 essay questions in here. And it is in McGraw-Hill Connect. There are some essay questions in here, and I just want to make sure that you write out like a paragraph. These aren't yes or no answers. They require a little bit of thought, but you should be able to find some information in your textbook for it. Okay. One thing I don't want you to do is Google search this, because if you Google search it and you come up with a textbook answer, that will also be plagiarism. So if you get it out of your textbook directly, I have no issues with it. If you Google search it and get it out of the teacher's guide, I have issues with it. You will receive a 0 on the essay exam. This is a review, so it's open book. It's not meant to be hard. I just don't want you, there's no learning and copying and pasting something from a teacher's guide answer. I want you to be able to understand what we talked about and see in totality all of the different things that we covered throughout the class, and I think it's a good review. So that's my goal for this. I hope that helps. If you have any questions, please let me know.